I went on a reality dating show with my nemesis, the A-list actor Paul Blackwood. His fans were ruthless. Paul said he wouldn't date Ava even if she were the last woman on Earth. Stop trying to ride his coattails, Ava. But then, eagle-eyed fans spotted something in a corner of the frame. Paul had me pinned against a wall. He tipped my chin up and whispered seductively, "Be good. Pick me. I'll let you walk all over me." The internet exploded. Temptation was a new kind of celebrity dating show. It was live-streamed and had an elimination-style format. Any contestant who failed to receive a crush text 3 times would be sent home. On the very first day, the live chat was already buzzing with bets. I'll bet $5 Ava's the first one to get kicked off. I bet Paul and Haley end up together. Whatever happens, Paul is not picking Ava. He literally said he wouldn't date her if every other woman on the planet disappeared. I was the first to arrive at the villa the show had arranged for us. Haley arrived right after me. She was the current it girl, and rumors about her and the award-winning actor Paul Blackwood were everywhere. On-set banter, a late-night meeting in a parking garage, it was all trending daily. Ava. Haley spotted me and immediately cozied up, acting like we were old friends. "I grew up watching your shows. I'm such a huge fan." I subtly took a step back. "Haley, I think I'm only a year older than you." Haley wrinkled her nose, trying to look cute. "But I just like you so much." I didn't feel like engaging and sat down on a sofa in the corner. The live chat went wild with praise for her. "Haley is so adorable. I just want to squeeze her cheeks." So what if Ava debuted a little earlier? She's acting like such a diva. What a terrible attitude. Ava's just jealous of Haley, isn't she? The other contestants started to arrive. The last one to make a grand entrance was the man himself, the young movie star Paul Blackwood. He wore a simple white shirt and black trousers that highlighted his tall, lean frame. His handsome face was flawless. I glanced at him for a second before looking away. So what if he's hot? He's still my nemesis. Ava. Paul walked straight toward me, a smirk playing on his lips. Well. Chubby Cheeks is all grown up and looking for love? Chubby Cheeks my ass. I bit back my temper and forced a faint smile. And the little crybaby who wet the bed until he was 5 is ready to find a girlfriend? Paul's dark, deep-set eyes narrowed, and he let out a soft, mocking laugh. He didn't continue our little spat, instead walking over to a single armchair to sit down. His seat was closest to Haley, and their shippers were thrilled. I knew it. Paul picked the seat closest to Haley. This is so sweet. Paul and Haley look so good together. Ava is so annoying. It looks like she's trying to play up the whole childhood friends angle. Paul belongs with Haley. Go away, Ava. That evening was the anonymous crush text segment. I sent mine to Leo, a junior colleague from my agency. "The dinner you made tonight was delicious. Thanks." After that, my phone fell silent. Beside me, Haley's phone was dinging non-stop with text notifications. The live chat mocked me. "See? I told you Ava would be eliminated sooner or later. Haley is so popular. She's already gotten 2 texts. I guarantee you Paul sent one of them to Haley." After reading her texts, Haley turned to me with a saccharine smile. "Ava, how many did you get?" I was speechless. Like she didn't already know. "It's only the first day," Haley said, feigning comfort. "I'm sure you'll get a crush text tomorrow. You know, I don't actually need your pity." Haley gently covered her mouth, her innocent doe eyes wide. "Oh, I'm so sorry." The chat jumped to her defense. Haley was just trying to be nice. What is Ava's problem? She's taking it out on Haley just because she didn't get a text. So shameless. Ava deserves to be ignored by all the guys. Suddenly, my phone chimed twice in a row. The first one, "You're welcome, Ava." You looked beautiful today. It was from Leo. He'd somehow figured out the text was from me. The second one, stomachache. Got any meds? In the chat, some fans just couldn't stand to see me succeed. That second text has to be a prank, right? Is this a prank segment from the producers? I think so. There's no way Ava got 2 crush texts. I frowned slightly. The only person who would send something like this in a crush text was probably Paul. The guy had some chronic stomach issues. I went to my suitcase to grab some stomach medicine and headed downstairs. Paul was still sitting in the living room, his handsome face looking a little pale. I tossed the medicine to him. Here. Paul raised an eyebrow. How did you know it was me? I scoffed. Who else among the male contestants is such a wimp? Paul suddenly stood up and closed in on me. Who's a wimp? At 6'1", he was a full head taller than me. As he moved closer, the sense of pressure was intense. I instinctively backed away, and he took the opportunity to trap me against the wall. I lost control of my tongue and stammered, what are you doing? Paul's dark, captivating eyes stared right at me. What are you so scared of? Weren't you just running your mouth? I pressed my lips together and said nothing. Suddenly, Paul dropped the arm he had braced against the wall. I just didn't want you to get eliminated with 0 texts, he said slowly. My stomach's fine. I woke up the next day to find I was trending online. Paul worried about texts. Paul and Ava childhood friends. Ava is kind of sweet. Overnight, Paul and I even had a ship name. Haley's fans rallied to protect their idol. Poor Haley. Ava totally played her. Ava must have paid for these trending topics, right? Everyone knows Paul and Haley are the real couple. Just wait. By the end of the show, Paul will definitely choose Haley. I went downstairs to the kitchen. Paul was already up and making breakfast. I grabbed the soy milk maker to make a batch. Paul glanced at me and said nonchalantly, "Who'd you send your crush text to last night?" "Maybe I sent it to you," I said casually. He let out a cold laugh. "If you sent it to me, it wouldn't have been anything nice. The texts I got were all compliments." His logic was sound. I had no comeback. Just as Paul's noodles were ready, Haley came downstairs, a cheerful grin on her face. "Wow. That smells amazing. Can I have some?" As she walked over, she somehow twisted her ankle and stumbled toward Paul. He sidestepped, avoiding her lunge, but reached out to steady her. Haley let out a little cry, biting her lip. I twisted my ankle. It hurt so much. The director told Paul to take Haley to the hospital. I continued filming with the other contestants, moving on to the pool game segment. Leo and I were randomly paired up, and we worked together seamlessly, knocking every other team into the water. I was having a great time. "Leo, you're amazing," I praised. Leo's young, handsome face flushed slightly. "It was all you, Ava. We made a great team." Just then, Paul returned. He shot a look at me and Leo, his expression sour. Behind him, Haley was in a wheelchair, her right ankle wrapped in a bandage, looking pitiful. I wondered if they'd had a fight on the way. I was about to walk past them and head to my room to change. "Ava, come with me for a second," Paul said suddenly, stopping me. I was completely baffled. Paul walked all the way to the courtyard, away from the cameras. He took off his mic and stared straight at me. "What is it?" I asked. "Leo is from the same agency as you?" I nodded. "That's right. Is there a problem? You can't date people from the same agency. Don't you know that?" "Our agency doesn't have that rule," I said, confused. "It's an unwritten rule," Paul insisted. "Relationships between artists from the same company never end well. It always gets messy." "Really? How do you know? Have you dated someone from your company?" I asked suspiciously. He gave me a look like I was an idiot. There are tons of examples in the industry. Do I need to try it myself to know? Aren't you and Haley from the same agency? You two are always in the tabloids and trending online. A faint smirk touched Paul's thin, well-defined lips. Chubby cheeks, don't tell me you're jealous. I rolled my eyes at him. Get lost. You're the one who's jealous, crybaby. Back in the villa's living room, Haley was washing vegetables from her wheelchair. When she saw us come in, she flashed a sweet smile. Paul, I know you're a picky eater, so I looked up some recipes online. Just wait, I'm going to whip something up for you. She struggled to get up from her wheelchair, balancing on one foot. The whole scene screamed inspirational hero overcoming adversity. Paul watched her, his brow furrowed. Just be careful you don't fall again. The chat exploded. OMG. So sweet. This is so moving. Paul's so protective of his girl. Is this what true love looks like? What is Ava doing just standing there? Doesn't she know she's the third wheel? I had no desire to get in the way of Paul and Haley's scripted romance, so I turned and went upstairs. By the time I had changed and come back down, the kitchen was filled with the fragrant aroma of sweet and sour ribs. I quietly swallowed and muttered to myself, who's tempting me now? Leo was standing at the stove. He looked up at me and smiled. Ava, I saw on your socials that your favorite dish is sweet and sour ribs. They smell delicious, I admitted honestly. At the other stove, Paul was now at the helm, while Haley watched from her wheelchair. The chat was in a frenzy. I knew Paul wouldn't let Haley suffer. The way he just snatched that spatula was so hot. Haley looked so cute just waiting to be fed. I leaned in for a closer look. Huh? Was Paul making sweet and sour ribs too? Right on cue, Haley let out a delighted gasp. Oh. My favorite, sweet and sour ribs. We all ate at the same table. I did my best to avoid Paul's plate of ribs, sticking to the ones Leo had made. The other contestants played along, teasing with smiles, Haley loves these, so eat up. Haley held her bowl and shyly lowered her head. I don't know what Paul was so grumpy about, but he sat there with a scowl on his handsome face, not saying a word. After I had eaten my fill, I let out a satisfied sigh. Leo, sitting next to me, whispered, Ava, are you going to send your text to me again tonight? Before I could answer, Paul suddenly placed a piece of sweet and sour pork in my empty bowl. I looked at him, surprised. Hadn't he seen that I was done eating and had put my chopsticks down? I'm worried I won't get any texts and get eliminated, Paul said slowly. Consider this a bribe. I was speechless. Mine are better than Leo's, he added, a slight curve to his lips. What was with this weirdly competitive streak? But I was genuinely full. As I was about to politely decline, Paul suddenly stood up, walked around the table, and came to my side. He took my chopsticks, picked up the piece of pork, and held it to my lips. Just one bite. That's all. He whispered in my ear. His magnetic voice, which fans called liquid gold, felt like it was teasing my earlobe. I could feel my cheeks growing hot. Every pair of eyes at the table was on me, and Haley looked like she was about to breathe fire. What on earth was Paul doing? Was this a bribe, or was he just messing with me? I angrily bit down on the rib and swallowed it whole. Paul was still standing over me, a low chuckle in his voice. Chubby cheeks, your face is as red as a tomato right now. Damn him. He was just as annoying as when we were kids. That night, it was time to send the crush texts again. This choice would determine the pairings for tomorrow's one-on-one dates. Haley came to my room and asked casually, Ava, who are you going to send your text to? I haven't decided yet, I said honestly. Haley lowered her head and said softly, Ava, can you please not send it to Paul? I raised an eyebrow. Why? I know you don't like Paul, she said, her voice muffled. Please leave him for someone who truly likes him, okay? I glanced at the camera. I didn't need to guess the chat was definitely blowing up. The person who truly likes Paul is Haley. Come on, Ava, be a decent person. If you don't like him, why try to steal him from someone else? Just a casual observer here, but doesn't Haley seem a little two-faced? Even if she likes Paul, does that mean no one else is allowed to? Haley continued, about what happened before, let's just say it was my fault. I apologize. Please don't make a choice you'll regret just because you're mad. With that, she limped away. The chat scrolled frantically. What happened before? Can someone fill us in? From what Haley is saying, it sounds like Ava is trying to steal Paul on purpose. Is something wrong with Ava? Even if Haley did something to offend her in the past, she shouldn't use romance for revenge. To be honest, I was completely lost. The past? What past? Haley and I had never worked on a project together. The only time our paths had crossed was on an acting competition show. But she had connections, so she got a lot of screen time. My scenes were cut to ribbons, making it seem like I wasn't even there. A staff member off camera urged me to send my crush text. I pushed Haley's words aside for the moment and picked up my phone. Ding! Someone had sent me a text. If one rib isn't enough of a bribe, I can up the ante. What else do you want? I can give you anything. I looked at the screen and couldn't help but laugh bitterly. He wasn't done messing with me, was he? I replied directly, I want your life. A staff member reminded me, Ava, that counts as your crush text for the night. You can't send another one. I stared in disbelief. Before I could argue with the staff, my phone started ringing with a voice call. I answered it. On the other end, a young man's voice, deep and pleasant, seemed to hold a hint of laughter. You want my life? You're the one who said you could up the ante, I replied coolly. Getting scared now? Paul chuckled. What would you do with my life? None of your business. I'd braise it, steam it, deep fry it. Paul was silent for 2 seconds, then said slowly, so, you want to eat me up, huh? I was speechless. The chat was ecstatic. This childhood friendship is everything. This is sweeter than any drama. You can ship a niche pairing, but not a toxic one. Paul came on this show for Haley. To the person above, are you a mind reader? When did he ever say that? The chat devolved into an argument. The next day. Because Paul and I had sent texts to each other, we were automatically paired for a private date. The production team let us choose our activity. Quick as a flash, I checked the box for watch a horror movie. Paul scoffed. You think I'm still scared of horror movies like when we were kids? You're not scared anymore? I asked, skeptical. Of course not, he said with a firm nod. At the theater, we were seated in a private couple's love seat. The entire theater was empty, booked out by the production team. As the lights dimmed and the chilling sound effects began, the atmosphere grew increasingly eerie. I turned to look at Paul beside me. He was completely expressionless, looking perfectly calm. You're really not scared? I whispered. I'm an actor. You think I'm scared of other people acting like ghosts? Paul huffed. All right then. I started to focus on the movie. The plot was incredibly tense, with ghosts crawling all over a train car. I was thrilled. Suddenly, my hand was squeezed tight. I jumped. I looked down and saw that Paul had grabbed it. He was holding on tightly, and his long fingers seemed to be trembling slightly. But his perfectly handsome face was a mask of calm, as if nothing was wrong. On screen, the main character let out a terrified scream. A sharp pain shot through my hand. Paul had squeezed it even tighter. Wow. He really was an award-winning actor. His skills were incredible. Scared out of his mind on the inside, but not a single flicker of emotion on his face. A smirk played on my lips. I leaned close to his ear, deliberately provoking him. Crybaby, if you're scared, just let it all out. Unexpectedly, he whipped his head around, and my lips brushed against his ear. I froze. My lips tingled. In the darkness, Paul stared into my eyes, his voice unusually low and husky. You want to see me cry? My heart started racing for some reason. And no, I don't want to see it anymore, I stammered. Paul let out a low laugh. Little coward. I was still in a bit of a daze as we left the movie theater. Was Paul really scared, or was he faking it? Just then, a staff member walked over to me. Ava, you're trending online. Do you want to take a look? I was surprised. Why would they tell me specifically? I pulled out my personal phone and opened X. Ava slaps Haley 18 times. Ava the bully. Poor Haley. The trending topics all stemmed from a video clip, an unreleased scene from the acting competition show Haley and I had been on. The clip showed Haley and me rehearsing a scene where my character, an arrogant concubine, was supposed to slap her. I hadn't actually hit her, I'd used clever camera angles. But this video had been edited to include a conversation between Haley and her assistant backstage. Assistant, that looked like it really hurt. How could she hit you so hard? Haley, oh, well, it's fine. What can I do? She's the veteran. It was edited to sound like all 18 of those slaps were real. To make matters worse, Haley's vague comments in my room last night were now being used by gossip blogs to build a narrative. The comments sections were in an uproar. Ava is so vicious. Even if it's for a scene, did she really need to slap her 18 times? Look at her. You can see how much force she used. It's like she wanted to beat Haley to death. This is terrifying. This is industry bullying. Someone should call the police. Ava, get out here and apologize. Paul must have seen the look on my face, because he took out his phone to check the trending topics. As he read, his expression grew dark. On the car ride back to the villa, he was silent, just typing on his phone. He completely ignored me. Right before we got out of the car, I asked softly, "Do you believe what they're saying online?" Was that why he was angry? Was he taking Haley's side? Paul glanced at me and tossed out a single word, idiot. Back at the villa, filming was still underway. Haley had already returned from her date with another male contestant. She came right up to me as soon as she saw me. Ava, I'm so sorry. I looked at the large screen in the living room, where the live chat was flying by. Ah, poor Haley. She has to apologize even though it's not her fault because she doesn't dare offend a senior actress. Ava is disgusting, bullying someone and then acting like nothing happened. Vermin like Ava should be kicked out of the entertainment industry. Haley looked at me with an innocent expression, her tone seemingly sincere. Ava, I had no idea a story like that would blow up. I raised an eyebrow slightly. Then what are you apologizing for? Haley blinked, as if my question had stumped her. Since you've already seen the news, that's great, I continued. When we rehearsed that scene, did I actually hit you, or did I fake it with camera angles? Why don't you clarify it for the cameras right now? Oh, Haley said, feigning difficulty. I don't think that's a good idea. I looked straight at her and said clearly, there were several staff members there during that rehearsal. I used camera angles for the slap. I never even touched your face. Isn't that right? Haley frowned weakly, her expression a mix of reluctance and hesitation. Ava, but... She leaned against the wall, swayed twice, and then crumpled to the floor. Her fainting threw the set into chaos. The director, not wanting to take any chances, paused filming and called an ambulance to rush Haley to the hospital. The news that Haley had been hospitalized after fainting from low blood sugar quickly started trending. The backlash against me intensified. Her fans flooded my social media, hurling insults at me. It was as if I had personally pushed Haley to the brink. Cat got your tongue? Paul saw me standing in the corner and walked over, suddenly patting my head. What? I looked up at him. Paul's lips curved into a soft smile. You should thank me. I was completely lost. Thank you for what? Paul's dark eyes were shining, a hint of pride in them. On the way back, I contacted the director of that acting competition. The truth will be out soon. I was stunned. You. Before I could finish, Paul's phone rang. He answered it, said a few words, and his face suddenly changed. What's wrong? I asked. Paul turned to look at me, a deep sorrow welling in his dark eyes. He closed his eyes for a moment before saying in a choked voice, "My grandmother passed away." I was floored. Paul's grandma was gone. Paul asked the director for a leave of absence and rushed to the countryside to handle his grandmother's funeral. I hitched a ride with him, insisting on going too. In the car, Paul put on a pair of sunglasses, hiding his expression. But the tight line of his jaw betrayed his grief. I spoke softly. If you want to cry, just cry. I won't laugh at you. Paul turned and, without warning, pulled me into a fierce hug. His voice was incredibly hoarse. Ava, I don't have any family left in the world. My heart ached for him. We had grown up together during those few years in the countryside. His parents had passed away early, and his grandmother was the only family he had. He was a mischievous kid, climbing trees to steal birds' eggs, catching fish in the river, he'd do anything. His grandma would worry about him and swat his bottom with a broom, but she never used any force. She'd pretend to be angry and say, "You little rascal, if you keep this up, you'll never find a wife." Paul would just snort dismissively. "If I can't find a wife, I'll just kidnap Chubby Cheeks and make her mine." Every time, his grandma would burst out laughing, forgetting all about his latest antics. As I remembered the past, my voice grew even softer. Your parents, and your grandma, they're all reunited in heaven now. They've become stars, and they'll always be there. You can see them whenever you look up. Paul didn't say anything. He buried his face in the crook of my neck, his body tense and trembling slightly. I felt a dampness on my skin. He was crying. The funeral in the countryside was complicated, but Paul was incredibly diligent, following every step the neighbors taught him. The process continued until the burial. He knelt before the grave for a long time without getting up. The day was cool and overcast, and a light rain began to fall. I ran down the hill to borrow an umbrella. When I returned, I saw someone else standing beside Paul. Was that Haley? What was she doing all the way out here? Paul, I came as soon as I heard the news. My condolences, Haley said gently, holding her umbrella over Paul's head. The scene looked almost picturesque. But not far away, someone was secretly taking photos. I frowned and was about to go confront them, but the person turned and ran. Paul, maybe you should get up. The ground is all wet, Haley was still cooing softly. Paul's straight back was rigid. He bowed his head to the gravestone 3 times, then slowly stood up. He stared at Haley with a chilling intensity. His gaze frightened her, and she took 2 steps back, stammering, "Paul, don't be so sad." Paul ignored her. He walked over to me and said in a low voice, "Let's go." Paul and I returned to the old house where his grandmother had lived. He was silent, slowly pacing through the rooms, touching each of the items his grandmother had used. I didn't disturb him. I went into the kitchen to make some noodles. His grandmother's passing had been sudden, so the kitchen was still stocked with everyday ingredients. I made a simple tomato and egg noodle soup, brought it to the table, and called out softly, "It's time to eat." That was the nickname I'd picked up from his grandma when we were kids. F. I hadn't said it in years. Paul came over and sat down at the table, his eyes bloodshot. He hadn't slept all night but seemed to be running on fumes. He silently picked up his chopsticks and began to eat. As I ate with him, I tried to lighten the mood. "Do you remember how you used to be such a crybaby? You'd wail every time Grandma disciplined you." Without looking up, he replied in a hoarse voice, "Of course I remember. And you were as chubby as a little piglet. Your puffy cheeks were so fun to pinch." Did you really have to bring that up? He said. I miss our childhood. I felt a wave of nostalgia. When did we start to stop being so close? To even hate each other? It probably started after he was discovered by a talent scout. He became an overnight sensation, a gifted actor who won awards left and right. And me? I was much clumsier. I studied broadcasting in college but didn't love it. After a winding path, I finally started acting, slowly making a name for myself. I never wanted people to say I was riding his coattails, so I always intentionally avoided any opportunities to appear on stage with him. And he, in private, had told a friend, me, like Ava? No way. I wouldn't date her even if she were the last woman on earth. After we finished eating, Paul took it upon himself to wash the dishes. I pulled out my phone to check the internet. The people attacking me hadn't stopped, but another story had just broken. Paul Blackwood's grandmother passes away. Paul Blackwood's girlfriend revealed at funeral. The girl by Paul's side is Haley. The trending photos were of the scene at the grave, Paul kneeling, with Haley holding an umbrella over him. In the comments, fans were losing their minds. My ship is real after all. I told you. Paul and Haley are the real deal. That Ava girl is just a clown. I'm crying. Haley's staying by Paul's side while he's grieving. This is beautiful. When Paul found out about the trending story, his expression turned frigid. I saw in the comments that some users had already figured out the location of his grandmother's grave based on the photos. This had to have crossed a line for him. I'll get someone to take down the posts. I stood up and went to the back courtyard to call my agent. My agent, a straightforward woman from the Northeast, answered with a laugh. You don't care when you're getting dragged online, but you're in such a rush for Paul Blackwood? This isn't the time for jokes, I said seriously. I'm worried people will disturb his grandmother's peace. I get it, I'm on it, she said. But the fee for taking it down is coming out of your pay. Take whatever you need. I hung up and walked back inside to find that Paul was live streaming. I opened his stream and saw his fans were going wild. OMG, Paul is finally live. Paul, where are you? His grandma just passed away, he must be back home. Paul and Haley are trending. She's with him right now. Paul stared into the camera without saying a word. It seemed like he was waiting for something. I stood far away from him to avoid being in the shot. But he suddenly turned and beckoned to me. Come here. The chat instantly lit up. Is that Haley? Wow, is this the official announcement? Congrats, congrats. Haley is with Paul during his darkest time. This is so sweet. I stayed where I was. But Paul strode toward me. He walked right up to me, held up his phone so we were both in the frame, and began to speak slowly. As you all know, Ava and I grew up together. My grandmother passed away, and she came back with me to handle the funeral. His words sent shockwaves through the fan base. So the trending story is fake? But the picture was clearly of Haley. What is going on? Paul continued calmly, Miss Haley did indeed show up. I don't know why she was there, or why there was a paparazzo with her who took that photo. Then he turned to look at me. Ava, about you being accused of bullying Haley, don't you want to take this chance to clear the air? I collected myself and said, for my situation, just talking about it won't do any good. My agency will post the relevant evidence online. Everyone will see the truth eventually. Paul smiled faintly and took over. Coincidentally, I happen to know someone who worked on that acting competition show. I have a behind-the-scenes clip I can show you all. He pulled out another phone, opened a video, and played it for the viewers. The video was of the same rehearsal where I slapped Haley. But the camera angle was completely different, clearly showing that my hand never made contact with Haley's face. When the video ended, the live chat erupted. Holy crap. This is a straight-up frame job. The posts attacking Ava are still up. How can Haley's fans live with themselves? I have a reasonable suspicion that Haley brought a paparazzo to Paul's hometown to stage those photos. You don't need to suspect, that's exactly what happened. I was secretly amazed. If Haley was going to frame me, she would have bought up any evidence that could clear my name. My agency was still trying to negotiate for it, but Paul had already gotten his hands on it. He must have pulled some serious strings he'd built up over the years. Looking into the camera, Paul said seriously, I'm live today to tell you two things. First, besides a past professional collaboration, I don't know Ms. Haley personally. Second, Ava is indeed my childhood friend, and I know exactly what kind of person she is. She acts tough, but she's got the softest heart. It's a miracle she's not the one getting bullied. I froze. What was he saying? Paul smirked. See? I say a few true things, and she's already stunned. A total coward. Me? A coward? The chat was scrolling at lightning speed. I can't keep up with all this tea today. My brain is going to explode. Paul, please be more direct. I'm a huge fan of you too. Let me ask. Paul, are you and Ava together? And he actually answered. No. Not yet. I couldn't hold back any longer. What do you mean, not yet? Paul turned, looked me straight in the eye, and said slowly, I haven't confessed to you yet. We went back to continue filming the show. I did my best to avoid Paul. This guy, saying something so ambiguous in public, was he trying to mess with me again? There was no way he actually liked me. Once, I had worked up the courage to confess to him. But then I overheard him telling a friend, me, like Ava? Are you kidding? I wouldn't date her even if she were the last woman on earth. That quote, now widely known among his fans, was something I'd heard with my own ears. For the rest of the filming, I tried to pair up with my junior colleague, Leo, as much as possible. Haley had quit the show. My agency found evidence that she had paid for the smear campaign against me and ruthlessly posted it online. Haley was now facing a massive loss of fans and was on the hook for various endorsement contract cancellations. Paul's fans hated her the most for exposing his grandmother's gravesite. My fans hated her for framing me. As a result, our two fan bases, united in their indignation, bizarrely teamed up in the dating show's live chat. Paul. You're slacking. Leo is about to steal Ava away. Paul, if you can't win her over, we're going to laugh at you. Ava, please, look at our Paul. The boy is going crazy with jealousy. And so we reached the final episode. The final choice. I was placed in an amusement park, standing beneath a Ferris wheel. Two figures came running down two separate brick paths. They seemed to be racing to see who could get there first, moving at an incredible speed. Paul reached me first. He was panting, his handsome face slightly flushed, and he said in a fierce voice, "You dare pick him? I dare you." I raised an eyebrow slightly. And why wouldn't I? Paul's deep, dark eyes stared straight into mine. If you pick him, I'll just have to steal you. Kidnap you and make you my wife. Just then, Leo arrived. He was out of breath and rushed to say, Ava. I don't dare compete with a star like Paul, but I like you. I was at a loss for words. Paul laughed, exasperated. You've really perfected that sweet, innocent boy act, haven't you? Leo was shameless. You may be my senior, but there are no rules in love. Paul ignored him and turned back to me. During the live stream, I said I hadn't confessed yet. Now, I'm going to confess to the girl I've liked for a very, very long time. He suddenly dropped to one knee. From his pocket, he pulled out a small jewelry box. He held it out to me and said softly, inside is a ring. I saved up my allowance for a long time to buy it back then. It's not worth much, but it represents a secret I've kept for all these years. The box opened, revealing a simple silver ring. The style looked a bit dated. When did you buy this? I asked, puzzled. The year you started college, he said in a low voice. I was shocked and blurted out, "Impossible. That year, you told your friend you could never like me. He even recorded it and put it online. Your fans all know about it from digging into your past." Paul's eyes darkened, and he gave a self-deprecating smile. "At the time, I had this ring ready and was about to confess to you. But then I overheard you telling your best friend that I wasn't your type at all. I was young and proud, and I said those things to my friend to save face. I clarified it online later." My mind went blank. Oh, I remembered. That year, before I left for college, I was at a party with friends. They were teasing me, saying I must have had a crush on Paul for years. I was too embarrassed to admit it, so I lied and said that Paul was the complete opposite of my type and not my taste at all. "Ava, even if I'm not your type, I'm willing to learn the qualities you admire. You once said you like a man who is responsible, ambitious, knows how to cook, and can make really good sweet and sour ribs." I learned to do all of it. The fingers holding the box were turning white from how tightly he was gripping it. He tried to look calm, but his small movements betrayed his nervousness. I started to explain, "Actually, back then." Leo suddenly cut in. "Ava, I can make amazing sweet and sour ribs too. And while I might not be as famous as Paul, my family is rich. If I don't make it as an actor, I'll just go home and inherit the family business." I was speechless. The chat went insane. Leo is so bold. Inherit the family business, I can't. Paul, you gotta step it up. We need a battle royale. Ava, our Paul might not have a family business, but he has millions of fans. We can crowdfund the dowry. Yes. Yes. Ava, pick our Paul. Paul suddenly stood up and moved closer to me. Startled, I backed away. But there was a wall behind me, and I had nowhere to go. Paul leaned in close to my ear and whispered seductively, "Be good. You pick me, and I'll let you walk all over me. If you like the sweet puppy dog type, I can be that too." My face burned. "We're live. Behave yourself." I hissed. He used the opportunity to slip the ring onto my finger in a few swift movements, declaring, "Great. You said yes. I heard you." And just like that, the dating show ended. Although I hadn't verbally agreed, my silence was my consent. The audience was left wanting more, flooding my social media with comments. "Please, please, please go on a couples travel show soon. We need to see what happens next." In real life, the next chapter for me and Paul was already beginning. He moved in next door to me. His reasoning? "My girlfriend isn't comfortable with us living together, so I'll start by being her neighbor." He climbed over my balcony in the middle of the night while I was drying my hair after a shower. "I'll help." He took the hair dryer from me as if it were the most natural thing in the world. This was his umpteenth time climbing the balcony. Good thing I only lived on the second floor. "Ava, do you know how I'm able to play so many different types of roles?" he asked while drying my hair. "Why?" "Back when I heard you say I wasn't your type, I started wondering what your type actually was. After I entered the entertainment industry, I started trying out all these different characters, secretly competing with myself. I was determined, one of these types had to be the one you liked." I turned around. I looked up into his eyes. I stood on my toes and gave him a soft kiss on the lips. "You're so silly." "Emicham," Paul murmured, putting down the hair dryer. His hands found my waist, his grip instinctively tightening. "I even practiced how different types of characters would treat you." I didn't understand at first. "What do you mean, how they'd treat me?" His eyes darkened, and he suddenly lowered his head and kissed me. Soon enough, I got a taste of all his different roles. Thank goodness I had to leave to start filming a new project. Otherwise, I would have cried my voice hoarse. On the day he drove me to the film studio, Paul was sullen. "I'm heading out west to shoot a movie. I won't be back for at least 3 months." I was secretly thrilled. "Then we can have a long-distance relationship." Paul kept one hand on the steering wheel and used the other to pinch my cheek. You heartless woman. Not even a little sad to see your boyfriend go. I just hummed. As if he didn't know how intense he could be. Paul narrowed his eyes, glancing at me in the rearview mirror. My role this time is a rugged, tough guy from out west, he said slowly. When I get back, I'll give you a private performance. When we arrived at the studio lot, Paul, completely unconcerned about who might be watching, carried my luggage to my hotel room. Once the door was closed, he finally let his real feelings show. He gently hugged me, burying his face in my shoulder, his voice low. Ava, this still feels like a dream. I'm scared that if I leave, I'll come back and you'll be gone. I wrapped my arms around him in response. That won't happen, I said softly. I'll be right here waiting for you. He found my lips and kissed me tenderly. I love you, Ava. I've been secretly in love with you for a very, very long time, my girl.